Good afternoon, investors, traders, punters and dribblers, to another Traders Community podcast brought to you by traderscommunity.com. Let's get started. We're just going to go quickly through it. Been a pretty steady day, as you'd expect, kind of a rest or resolve after such a big day yesterday. But as you can see, then what's noticeable, there seemed to be no fear, and buying was in the small caps. So as a reminder, this is not financial advice or accounting advice or tax advice, any of that sort of advice. So treat it as such. And let's get started and go over what we've been doing and what we've been seeing. So as I said, there seemed to be and the reason I favour that feeling was we saw the Russell actually go up today. And some of the what we call the dribbler stocks, not many of them, but a few in that genre actually going up, and a bit of ramming going on by some of the stock rooms and things like that. So here we sit today. We had a big bounce in oil up at 111.64. So it bounced about $6 from the low to close up. Remember, this is also the close, the expiration tomorrow, and where the roll is complete. S&P just sitting around 3,900. It did do a double bottom, as we'll see when we look at it. So that becomes your big level that needs to stay above. The 2,000 closed right at the 50 on the 10-minute there at 1778 and gave a positive reading for the day. Natural gas got up to 850 again after the number, sold off all day down to 810. The Nasdaq closed right at its, you can see there it's 5-minute tanking and under the 5-minute 50. It was kind of one of those days, 11,897. And vol, as you can see, sold off all day, which is also fits in to the no fear argument. So if we look at what Nasdaq did and what S&P did, they both did similar things. So let's look at the S&P first. You can see the double bottom here. And from that level, we tried to bounce aggressively, but really we did close off the low, right? So here we are at, let's call it 38.60, and we close at 3,900, so that's 40 handles. We code right in the min point. So it's obviously a real balancing act there. And if we look at the weekly, again, we're closing just above this line. Not sure how relevant this line is, given we had 1, 2, so we should probably bring a new facet channel down there. On the 5-minute, you can see and these markets are best to avoid. This kind of choppiness, you're going to get chopped up. That's why I have a strategy. And so it was a real easy buy this morning. It was actually recalculated. It was minus 2.8. So you got that one little pop here. Back to 1/8. You got that little reverse head and shoulders, but that failed. And you can see it was just all choppy. The high, it finally gave you a sell target at 8/8, where it came back off to 3/8. Not much to see there. So Madav is actually caught up in some stuff. So we'll get into the Nasdaq. You can see it's exactly the same. It actually wasn't quite as weak, actually. So look at that, and it's sticking right at halfway. At half mast, so to speak. And 5 minutes, even more choppier, right? But same pattern. See how S&P went to minus 1/8? This one only went to 0.8, so just underneath it. But it rallied up to plus 1/8. So you still got the 8/8 move. Let's look now at the other indexes. Well, firstly, let's look at, good question. Let's look at ARKW. You can see just really still bright red week on week. If I look at that on daily, do we get so we did have a nice green bottoming, but it's struggling even getting over this tankin, which has held it all the way down. That doesn't augur well for it at this point, though that may come good at a later date, right? So let's look at Nvidia is another one, same pattern. Let's make these daily so we can see. So here's what's scary from a bullish point of view, if you're bullish. And from a bear, remember, it could be just doing that double bottom we saw. This could be an A, B, C. But you can see there's a pattern of not getting through resistance. Now, Amazon, remember, was like Walmart and Target, retail, getting hurt. And here's a daily. You can see it's still close. So this is a combination of tech and retail. But look at these. These aren't exactly performing how you would like. As far as bonds went, we saw firstly we saw a big weakening of the dollar, and that's started selling off yesterday. Remember, these are big highs, so not totally. It was due basically. Let's look at that. So that's where you take your profits and stuff. So bonds today were stronger across the board, i.e. lower yields. And it was a combination of numbers. We had a really weak housing number that you can see on the report. I mean, when I say really weak, it was lower than expectations, lower the year, but we're coming off bumper levels and really soaring mortgage rates. So we want to see if we're at the end of the world situation, which it looks like with inflation and all that, but there are measures and there are those that have a higher percentage. Remember, not everyone was in the stock market. So anyway, the 2-year was down 7 basis points, the 30 down 1 basis points. We're talking yield, so when I'm saying that means the bond's up. So the strongest today was the 2-year. So that fits inside, right, with the Fed. And that's yields down to 261. The 10-year yields down to 286. And the 30 is 307. So you can see all that there in your yield. That's your 10-year futures. And that's your bond price. Obviously the opposite of that. And you can see it pushing up there. Okay, let's have a quick look at energy. So as I mentioned, we had a massive move in oil and Natty. So Natty did the classic 1, 2, 3. Plus 2.8. It got to, gave you a beautiful sell after the number, came back down, test the Cajun, tried to get back to plus 2.8, and this was your good sell. The 1, 2, remember? And we just sold off 30 cents, which are, remember, these are valuable points, right? So if we go to daily, you can see the red spug we were talking about yesterday and the fail. So remember, this is either a 5 or a 3. So if this is a 5, if this was a 5, this was 1, 2, and we're going hard lower. If this, in fact, was a 3, we're doing the old, this is 3. So the question is this enough to be 4? And is this part of your 1, 2? So just keep it open-minded on both those. On oil, guess what we came to? We hit the tank and we talked about, and boom, straight back up. It's not magic. Pretty close to it looks like at times. Or math. And if we look at the daily, that was also the Cajun. So you had multiple supports on 2 different time zones. And as I said, it's the end of the previous month tomorrow. It's going to expire. So we could get some shenanigans, or was that the shenanigans? Which is probably a good chance, right? So let's look at a few other little things here. So on here somewhere, there it is the Russell. So even though it was the stronger one, you can see it's just bleeding red there. So let's go to daily, and you can see a little bit more constructive what's going on. So this is possible. You can see the possible 1, 2, 3 from the bulls. But just like the others, it's drawn to the tank. And so we'll be watching what that's doing tomorrow. P10, the short we had, we took that off today in this little level. It did get down lower pre-market. So last night you could have got that back at 15. I think we trailed out at 74, thereabouts. So that's just a little play with oil and gas. You tighten up your stop with what was going on in oil, and gas wasn't the same. So that's sometimes you just got to make a judgment call on that, but you always want to protect your profit if you can. That is about it. Let's look at, so it looks like the other blokes are going to make it. So here's crypto. On the short end, on Bitcoin, it's spinning basically since this bounce between low 28s and high 31 was a high, and we're sitting right there at 30.24. So it's not even a full 2.8 spread, is it? If we look at the daily on this and the weekly, you can see the green spug. Does that do a pennant and get back and test it? I look at this mainly for to see what the speckies are doing. If we look at Ethereum, it doesn't have the green in this week, which is interesting. Remember, that was the strongest one forever. So there we have it. I think we pretty well covered everything. There was a few stocks we can look at real quick. Let me see where I put them. We had KSS report this morning. You can see the violence in these moves, violent up and down. These are $8 swings. Once we had the double bottom there, that second fail, we rallied all day, up $8. So remember, there would have been some initial twos and fro's of this. The question would have been, had this already come off enough with Walmart and Target, or was that already built in? And you can see at the end of the day, the market took that it was built in. So let's also look at AMAT that reported today. Big tech, as we all know. And you can see after the report, it missed and warned, so that was a good $11 pull. But you can see again, that was minus 3/8 from 4/8. It rallied hard from 101.50 all the way back up. I mean, that's one spike, but up here, tested 110, came back down to 107. So it's building. So we're going to look to see if this is a 1, 2 higher, right, or this breakdown here. So we have that going on. And then we have one more. We had Ross Stores. So Ross Stores went the way of, opposite to KSS, went the way of Target and Walmart. So you can see what happened here. Missed, bang. And it's made it with warning. So this went from 93 to 81. So to get the first place you could really get short here was around $88. Now, there was someone on Twitter going on that basically implying these moves don't happen and there's no market maker and they just reprice them the next day. So that's what you're dealing with. That's the whole purpose of this, is to lead people to what actually really happens via traders on the professional side or hedge funds, etc. like that, rather than what is pushed or what other people perceive to be, usually to justify their weaknesses, right? And stories. And a lot of these people don't actually trade. It does take you a long time in life to be good at certain things. So bear that in mind. You will read that, but you can see. So the machines hit it. We could get it here. And it was a nice sell down there. It was hard to stay all the way. There's a little bit of work done here, but not much. Right, as you can see. And then it just fell away from there. So that's pretty well it. I think I've covered everything there. Let me find where we are. So tomorrow, let me see. There's not many earnings, but there is John Deere, which is they now call Agritech, but you'll know them for their tractors and all that sort of stuff. And we have Foot Locker out tomorrow. What do we have out as far as data? Let me have a quick look. So I'm getting a note. There's nothing of note in the US. So I will love you and leave you. See you at the roundabout. Good luck tomorrow. Remember, if you like what you see, like us, share it, and just at the end here, this is where we're finishing up. Here's Madavi. So we just had a quick one, mate. I went through all the stocks we did, the futures we did. Anything you want to add before we go?
For about $6.60 a contract. Late in the day, we actually saw some of the May 300 puts.
Nothing. All good. So what's interesting, I think if it breaks those lower levels, you could get some selling coming into the weekend. Nothing has improved. From the other flip side of that, you got a fair level where people are long off those levels, and you see the same level on S&P and on Nasdaq. So anyway, we'll see everyone tomorrow. Thanks for popping by, Madavi. We had a quick one, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Make sure you like and share and all that good stuff.